Mohsin, I would request I would request you to share with everyone here. Then we will have some in-depth questions about anything that you want to ask Dr. Mohsin about research, how to get started in research, and where to apply to for research, and especially after matching, how to progress to your career. So with that, Dr. Fawad, we would like you to add some of your words, and then we can have a proper outline of USMLE with Dr. Mohsin, and Dr. Fawad will take the lead in discussions as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adnan. Uh, I'm the research guy actually, and Dr. Mohsen is the USMLE guy, just to clarify that. So, I was reading an article recently, and it said it was by Malik Asad. It was a very renowned resident. He was saying that in last year's match, the orthopedics was very competitive. ना? तो on average, the जिनका मैच हुआ उनके on average they had 97 publications per person. So it was the highest of in the history at that time. So for different specialties, it is different. Like for OBGYN, for anesthesia, it was like 20 publications per person or something like that. So it marks the importance of it, no? तो I remember कि जब मैं final year में था, this was research was not a culture thing इधर ना. तो mostly everyone would say कि इससे क्या फायदा होना है और like we won't be getting a Nobel Prize of it तो हम ये क्यों करें. It was funny लेकिन ना we all start somewhere. Start small लेकिन it grows up into a big pie eventually. So even myself, मैंने अपनी पहली research की, it was ridiculously stupid and it never got published. But I had to start somewhere. And it helped me learn so many things जो कि मैंने बाद में apply की. और it was a stepping stone, I would say. कि step by step you start to build it up. So that is why it is important. Okay? तो इसके अलावा देर आर सम प्रीरिक्विजिट्स जो कि यूएसएमएलए स्कोर्स के अलावा भी चीजें आपको चाहिए होती हैं. दीज आर ऑब्जर्वरशिप्स, योर इंटर्नशिप्स एंड योर रिसर्चेस, योर ऑडिट समथिंग. इस तरह से ना लेट मी शो यू सम. एक मिनट, लेट मी शो शेयर माय स्क्रीन विद यू. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
So I was just going through this PowerPoint presentation of mine last week ही मैंने utilize की, and I wanted to show it to you. Some of the things which are very important मैं दिखाना चाहता था कि important तो ये है research और USMLE में you will have to do it. Okay, तो सबसे आसान like सबसे common question I get asked a lot is कि मैं topic कहाँ से लाऊं, like where do I find that. तो I think in my opinion दो अप्रोचेस सबसे इजी हैं. there can be more than two approaches, लेकिन these two are the easiest. Number one, start reading research articles पढ़ें, ऑनलाइन जाएं, गूगल स्कॉलर यूज करें, पबमेड यूज करें, just start reading. आपको सिर्फ रीडिंग से इतने सारे आइडियाज मिलेंगे जो कि you would say कि ये तो इतना आसान है, I could do that. Like for example, जब मैंने हाउस जॉब कंप्लीट की तो there was a drug omeprazole very commonly used in BVH. It's a proton pump inhibitor. तो omeprazole की एक alternate new drug आई, उसका नाम था vonoprazone, V से. तो काफी मेडिकल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स आते थे और दे वुड से कि ये सर उससे बेटर है एंड स्टार्ट प्रिस्क्राइबिंग दिस. तो जैसे आते होते हैं यू वुड नो. So one day I looked it up on Google Scholar. Like I searched vonoprazone versus omeprazole, like just to see कि इनमें क्या फर्क है. So I searched it like this, and these were the results. कि काफी लोगों ने ट्रायल किए हुए थे vonoprazone versus omeprazole for eradication of H. pylori. Like H. pylori के बहुत पेशेंट्स हैं हमारे पास. और in the in the second result, comparative study between efficacies of vonoprazole versus omeprazole in GERD, GERD. तो GERD के भी पेशेंट्स हमारे पास बहुत सारे हैं. I thought कि I could do that. Like हमारे पास vonoprazone भी है, we have omeprazole as well, we have H. pylori के patients as well, and we have so much data in a tertiary care hospital. तो why is no one doing it? तो इस तरह से सर्च करने से मुझे ये चीज माइंड है. तो I would say start searching, start learning. In my opinion, that is the easiest, simplest thing you could start with. Okay? It's not going to be a formal presentation, I swear. I'm not going to waste your time. So I'm just going to use the important slides only. तो जब आप आर्टिकल पढ़ेंगे तो यू वुड सी दीज हेडिंग्स. लाइक दुनिया का कोई भी आर्टिकल आप पढ़ेंगे यू वुड सी दीज हेडिंग्स ओनली. और उनमें से भी मेन टेक्स्ट कंसिस्ट ऑफ जस्ट 4 हेडिंग्स: इंट्रोडक्शन, मेथोडोलॉजी, रिजल्ट्स, डिस्कशन, बस. लाइक इसी चीज को आपने मास्टर करना है. यू वुड स्टार्ट रीडिंग इट और आपको आइडिया होगा कि अच्छा इन्होंने ऐसे लिखा है, आई कुड राइट लाइक दिस एज वेल. सही. तो काफी लोगों का एक और क्वेश्चन था कि हमने लिखा हुआ है, हमें ठीक है, हमें सारी समझ आ गई, तो अब मैंने पब्लिश कैसे करना है? तो इट्स जर्नल को अप्रोच करें थ्रू देयर वेबसाइट. उनके ऑनलाइन पोर्टल्स हैं. आई रिमेम्बर एक बंदे ने मुझसे पूछा कि मैं उनको कॉल करूं, किसी का फोन नंबर दे मुझे जर्नल का ना. तो मैंने कहा नो, यू डोंट हैव टू कॉल देम. आपने सिर्फ वेबसाइट पे जाके, उनके पोर्टल है ओजीएस पोर्टल, आपने वहां पे जाकर सबमिट करना है. और उसके बाद एक टाइमलाइन इस तरह की आएगी आपके सामने कि यू हैव टू सबमिट फर्स्ट. उसके बाद इट गोज थ्रू अ पीयर रिव्यू कि वो आपकी जो रेलिवेंट फील्ड है उसके एक्सपर्ट्स को आपकी रिसर्च भेजेंगे एंड दे वुड चेक कि इसमें कोई टेक्निकल एरर नहीं है. अगर कोई मिस्टेक्स हैं तो दे वुड सेंड इट बैक टू यू. द थर्ड पॉइंट, दे विल आस्क यू टू रिवाइज इट. तो रिवाइज एंड रीसबमिट. तो रिवाइज एंड रीसबमिट काफी दफा होगा. इट्स नॉट अ सिंगल थिंग. तो मिस्टेक्स आप दोबारा भेजेंगे, वो कुछ और मिस्टेक्स निकाल देंगे, दोबारा से रिवाइज होगा, दोबारा से रीसबमिट होगा. एंड देन ये होता रहेगा जब तक ऑल द मिस्टेक्स आर करेक्टेड. और उसके बाद पब्लिश होगा. एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो मैं यहाँ दिखाना चाहता था कि एआई टूल्स यहाँ पे कोई भी यूज नहीं करता. हालांकि एआई टूल्स, लाइक दे आर, इट्स लाइक हैविंग अ सुपर पावर. लाइक आई रिमेम्बर दिस के दिस इज स्क्रीनशॉट ऑफ माय ओन लैपटॉप. लाइक लेट मी यूज द पेन हियर. यहाँ पे एक, जब आप सॉफ्टवेयर इंस्टॉल करते हैं, ओपन करते हैं, इट ओपन्स लाइक दिस. तो उसमें एक ये पोर्शन है एक्सप्लोर जीपीटीज. एक्सप्लोर में जाके गो हियर, रिसर्च एंड एनालिसिस. यू विल सी सो मैनी ऑप्टिमाइज्ड एआई टूल्स जिनको आप अपने लिए यूज कर सकते हैं. लाइक यू कैन डू लाइक साइज स्पेस, do hours worth of research in minutes. Like it goes through 287 million plus papers and gives you the results. It's a time saver. Like, and this asks you PDF. You upload the PDF of any research article and you start asking questions. और वो उसमें से आंसर देगा जो आपने पीडीएफ अभी अपलोड किया. लाइक मैं उससे पूछूं कि इनकी रिसर्च डेटा कलेक्शन कैसे की इन्होंने, एंड इट वुड गिव मी पॉइंट्स कि इन्होंने इस तरह किया. और मैं आई कुड आस्क कि मैं बहावलपुर में इसको कैसे अप्लाई करूँ इन माय स्टडी, एंड इट वुड गिव मी सो मेनी आइडियाज कि इस तरह से इस तरह से इस तरह से अप्लाई करें. एंड इवन दिस diagrams and data research, analyze, visualize those complex diagrams and charts. You could do this here for free. And this GPT 4.0, I think 4.0 it's called, it's free of cost. Like it has I think 10 uh, queries you can ask for 6 hours, and then you have to wait 6 hours. It's like that. Like I think it is still a very usable tool, which is very neglected और यहाँ पर कोई भी use नहीं करता. Start using it. Okay? Use it for your benefit. I remember this quotation. मुझे ये बहुत पसंद था. Albert Cezanne Georgi, he was a Nobel Prize winner of 1937. इन्होंने विटामिन सी को आइसोलेट किया बॉडी से, एंड उसके बाद एनालॉग्स बने, उसके बाद बहुत सारी डिजीजेस और काफी उसकी एप्लीकेशंस थी. तो ही वुड से कि रिसर्च ऐसी चीज है कि आप सारे वही चीज देख रहे होंगे, लेकिन थिंक व्हाट नोबडी एल्स इज नॉट. ये वही चीज है कि मैंने, मेरे सामने ओमेप्राजोल और वोमेप्राजोल आई, मैंने सोचा कि मैं इसको सर्च करूं और मुझे आइडियाज मिलने लग गए कि हाँ हम इसमें सर्च कर सकते हैं, हम इसमें एच फाइलोराई में चेक कर सकते हैं. इट इज जस्ट वन आइडिया एंड इट्स स्टिल अनडन. भावलपुर में स्टिल अभी कोई रिसर्च नहीं हुई हुई. इट इज अ फ्री आइडिया शेयरिंग मैं आपको कर रहा हूँ. तो सारे ना कर लेना इकट्ठे, फिर प्लेजरिज्म इशू हो जाएगा। खैर, तो आई वुड से स्टार्ट रीडिंग। और ना जितना हो सके आपकी प्रैक्टिस में, जो आप हॉस्पिटल जाते हैं उसमें से आप क्वेश्चंस निकाल लें। okay? और इंशाल्लाह आप यू विल सी कि इट इज नॉट सो डाउंटिंग या डिफिकल्ट, और बड़ा आसानी से यू विल कंप्लीट इट। ओके,
अभी भाई कुछ क्या है?
तो दैट इज फ्रॉम माय साइड।
हाँ।
वेल, दैट इज फ्रॉम माय साइड। और आई वुड से कि डॉक्टर अदनान, प्लीज मूव ऑन विद द सेशन
Thank you.
एंड कंटिन्यू।
Thank you so much, Dr. Fawad. That was very helpful. I am sure about all the students would benefit from such an comprehensive, precise, and up-to-date knowledge of research. So I would like to now request Dr. Mohsin to share some insight about the current situation of USMLE. Like, how should we apply for USMLE? When should we start studying for USMLE? And if a person is doing that, how can he achieve his match through research? And what things can he do to boost up his chances? So, Dr. Mohsin, if you would like to share some insight about us, we would be very glad to hear these. Thank you.
Sure. So starting from the very beginning, the most important question that everybody wants to ask and wants to know is the cost of USMLE. First and foremost, before I jump into the nitty-gritty details of cost, an important thing to remember is that the cost is not upfront, meaning it is a scattered cost. You'd have to pay for a particular exam, and then you take that exam, and then you'll wait for X number of months, maybe 6 or 7 or 5 or 6 months, and then pay for the next exam, and then wait for that result to come in, and then pay for the next thing. So it's a step-by-step process. You would not have to pay everything out of pocket right away. With that, we have 2 exams now: USMLE Step 1 and USMLE Step 2. Each exam costs $1,000. So we have $2,000, straight up from just these 2 exams. And then we have occupational English language test, which is OET. That's somewhere around $435, $500. So I'll say $500. So $2,500 basically for your exams. And then you have to go through a certification process, which is an ECFMG certification process. ECFMG is basically Education Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. That just govern ECFMG takes or assumes the role of medical school for all the international medical graduates. Even though we have our own schools and stuff, but they take the required applications, and they have your USMLE transcripts and everything, and they send it over to programs when you're ready to apply. So basically, they do kind of everything that a US medical school does for any US graduate. So the fee for ECFMG certification is about $925, and then you'd have to add a couple of it's under $100. I think the fee is $70 or something to get the one-time fee when you make your account in ECFMG or IWA, which is Interactive Web Application, when you apply to USMLE. Now, logistics. USMLE is governed by a different body, and ECFMG is a part of a different consortium. They do communicate with each other a lot, but you'd have to register through Interactive Web Application to USMLE, pay them this fee for each USMLE exam. Then you have to register to OET via USMLE. Any OET probably would not count, because OET is applicable all over the world, and USMLE pathway OET has to be registered through this pathway. So you get that via OET, and then ECFMG certification. ECFMG has a different website where you register yourself for the ECFMG. So these are the logistics and main cost associated with USMLE. Now, this is, you haven't even started to apply. This is the basic cost. Once you're USMLE certified, you have your match application basically that goes through your ERAS, which is a different portal or a way of sending an application electronically to whatever specialty you're interested in and whatever number of programs you're interested in sending your application to. So there's no paper application. You have to register yourself to ERAS. Every year the token opens up somewhere around June or July. You take up that token and you upload your CV and all the requirements, mainly your letter of recommendations, your USMLE transcripts, and your medical school performance evaluation, which is your MSPE. In addition to that, you have your medical school transcripts. So all of your documentations are uploaded within this portal, and they do source verification too. For example, if you have uploaded a certain document, they might go back and ask QMC to verify that this is your transcript and stuff. And then you have to upload your letter of recommendations. Those could be from home school, but preferably from the US, clinical experiences. That adds on another cost associated with the USMLE journey, which is your US clinical experiences. So you need at least 3 to 4 letters. If you're applying, for example, let's say you're applying for surgery, you need minimum 3 surgical letter of recommendations to apply. And how do you get those letter of recommendations within US? You come here for, let's say, electives or observerships. That's how you obtain those letter of recommendations. And traveling comes with a cost too. If for example, we are saying we have to get 3 letters, and we are rotating at 3 different universities, or 3 different hospital systems and 3 different states, 3 different cities within US, the cost adds up. There's a cost of living, there's a cost of commuting, cost of traveling, living expenses, all of that. But, keeping in view the norm, or I would say, normalizing all the cost, in my mind, I think each rotation costs you somewhere around $1,500. So imagine if you have to get 3 rotations, it's somewhere around $4,500 to $5,000. But that cost is not upfront too. You can get everything done in probably $1,000, and that includes all of your ticketing and everything. For example, if you have to travel from Lahore or Islamabad to New York, and then you have 1 rotation in New York, and then your next rotation is in Houston, so you'd have to pay for about $1,500 worth of your ticket to New York and to Houston. So these 2 tickets, about $1,500. And then let's say you're paying that particular hospital $500 or $600 for your rotation. The cost goes up to $2,000, and then you have to stay in New York. That's another $500, and then you have to eat in New York. That's another $300 or $250 to $300. So you see easily it jumps up to $3,000 if you've done 1 rotation. And then if you add up a second rotation, let's say you're not paying anything to hospital, you're just living there. So add 1,000. So in 4,000, you've only done two rotations. And if you're adding 1 more rotation, let's say you're paying another $700 to that hospital, and then you have to travel to that hospital and you have to stay there, it's another $1,500 with the cost that you're paying the hospital to get that experience done. So you add all of that up, it's about $5,000 for 3 months of US rotations, plus minus $1,500 if all of your rotations are free, which is unheard of. You have to pay at least some dollar amount in terms of your application fee, and most of the times you have to pay the hospitals too. That fee could be $500, could be $1,000, and could go up to $5,000 for just 1 rotation. It depends on how you're approaching your applications and how much of a time frame is there between your application and your month that you're looking into doing a rotation. For example, if you want to do a rotation in August and you're already in July, first of all, it's going to be extremely challenging. And second, you have to go through the paid route in which, you have to pay the hospital to get you in. And even with that, it's not sure that, you would get that rotation within a month. So plan in advance, weigh your options and see if you can get maximum rotations without paying, any dollar amount to that institution. It's going to be hard. It takes a lot of time, probably 6 months to 9 months, but it is doable. People have done it. People are doing it still. But if you don't want to put in that hard work, you can opt in for, paid observerships or rotation possibilities, where you have to pay about $1,000 to $1,500 worth of your money, and then you end up being hooked up with a hospital or a clinic where you do your rotation, and you get to taste the U.S. healthcare system, and you take care of your own expenses while living there. Your apartment, your house, or your commuting, and your eatery, everything. Is the second major chunk of your cost. So the third and the most important chunk of the cost is basically your ERAS application. For each program that you're going to be applying to, it's going to cost you $26 for the first 20 programs. After the 20 programs, the cost goes phenomenally up. I think it's $52 or $50 something. Imagine if you're applying to 120 programs, this cost could be, for first 20 programs, it's going to be $26 for 20. It is somewhere $500, a little bit less than $500. But for the rest of 100 programs, it's 50 per 100. So 50 per 100 is basically, about $5,000. If my math is mathing. 0, 0, and 5. Yep,
It is indeed mathing.
Yeah, so $5,000. So $5,000 plus your, initial 400 something. So $5,400 something if you're applying to 120 odd programs. Now, that's where mentorship comes in, and that's where we help, our Kemkana kicks in, and we help our Arcadians to cut that cost, basically, not by supplying, dollar amount, but by, mentoring where to apply, how to apply, which programs to avoid, what's the ideal number to apply. Apply widely, but still apply to not a lot of programs, which would cost you a lot of dollar amount for probably lesser output, meaning those programs won't consider you, or it won't be matching what you are looking for, and you would be wasting your money. So this application cost could be somewhere around, I've given you the extreme example, basically. 120 is the upper limit of what a candidate needs to apply. Ideal number of applications or number of programs that you'd apply to would be somewhere around 70. So this cost could be, somewhere around $2,500 to $3,000. So let's add things up. Basically, we talked about $1,000 each for USMLE Step 1 and Step 2. We talked about $450 something for OET and $925 for your ECFMG certificate. So add up all of this, and this would give you about $3,500. So the first chunk of it is going to be $3,500, and then the next chunk of it is your travel. And I couldn't mention, when you're traveling for your US clinical experience, you can get your Step 3 done. So basically, if you think about it, you have to travel to US to get your Step 3 USMLE done. And you're just adding US clinical experiences alongside that to cut the cost. Basically, you don't have to travel back and forth twice to, first come and get your US clinical experience, and then, you go back home and come back again for your Step 3. That adds about $1,500 to $2,000 for nothing. So that's what we normally recommend, that whenever you have your USMLE step 3 oriented, or you have an exam date booked, get your clinical experiences around that date, maybe before or after. That would save you around $2,000 to begin with. And step 3 is a little bit expensive. I couldn't look up the updated fee, but I think it was somewhere $1,300 or something like that, $1,300, $400. So add that cost to your traveling cost. Basically, taking step 3 would cost you about $3,000 US, including the ticket and 1 week of stay in US. So $3,000 plus $4,500 that we added previously, 4, 5, 6, 7, $7,500. Then you haven't started to apply. So application, as we discussed previously, would be averaging on $3,500. So add that to this, it's $11,000. So basically, you need $11,000 bare bone cost to to pursue your USMLE path. But the good thing about this is that you do not have to give this $11,000 some dollars, $11,500 or $11,000 to $13,000 upfront. So this is a scattered amount that you have to make that expense as needed. Basically, whenever you have an exam or a need coming up, it's only then that you have to make this cost. So that's a cost, and for most of us, cost is the most important thing to consider. That's why the trend, and still that's a trend within our college to pursue paths that are less stressful in terms of finances on ourselves and on our families. But let me give you probably an example of how people have gone through this cost. I've known people who are not from initially they thought that they're not from a family who could afford this cost, but that's where your immediate seniors who have gone through this pathway, or reaching out to your Camcana community, would help you understand how people have covered up their cost. If I think back and look, if I answer for myself that was I comfortable with this cost, the answer is no. If you add up all of this and you just start to think about it, you would drop your options of pursuing USMLE. But my advice for you would be to take one step at a time. Consider $1,000, for your step 1 exam. Consider another $1,000 for your step 2 exam when you're ready to take it. So in actually 10 months, you have to only spend $2,000 US, and you can actually cover this cost by your house job stipend, if you think about it. You can also probably cover your ECFMG certification by your house job cost, if it is paid. So this cost could be covered by your stipend, but the rest of the cost you have to reach out to your family to finance it. It is an investment, about $7,000 worth of investment that you'd have to find ways to get it done. And some people that I know, they've gone to jobs and saved money for USMLE, working 2 years within Pakistan actually, and came to US for their USCE experiences, clinical experiences that they need to get done from their own savings, from their own jobs that they've done after their house job. But if you're not financing, if you're trying to finance it by yourself, obviously you need a job and you need to be working in that job for a number of years to finance this. That takes me to the next point of, what is the ideal time to take your USMLE step exams? I would say that, now we've advanced to a level that I can safely say that the end of 4th year is the ideal time for all of you to take your USMLE exams, provided you get appropriate guidance and help from your immediate seniors who are in this path. Okay. Don't fly solo, because the rate of failure for step one has gone up after they've changed this exam to pass fail from a 3-digit score. So be very careful and don't just jump up the guns and try and be a heroic person who takes step one in 4th year without any mentorship or guidance. You would be successful, I have no doubts in your capabilities or abilities, but there is that risk of risking it all, basically. So don't risk it all, and get some appropriate mentorship and guidance from your seniors before pursuing this. But the ideal time, I would say, is the end of 4th year, beginning of final year, max mid of final year. The basics are fresh in your mind at that time. You're just going through first aid, and you rolled and some video resources, which is boards and beyond. And again, this is not meant to guide you in particular for any particular exam. That's a whole different talk, and I don't want to divulge into that for the interest of time. But get your resources straightened up and start studying from the beginning of your 4th year, so that you're ready by the end of your 4th year. Take your strategically take your self-assessment exams amidst all of your preparation, and that would help you understand what is the ideal time for you. The ideal time that you ask me is end of 4th year, beginning of final year, mid of final year, max end of final year. But for you, it's going to be different. For you, it's going to be specific to your case. So your self-assessments are going to help you understand that sweet spot. Either it's the end of 4th year, beginning of final year, or mid of final year. One thing that I would mention is don't compare yourself to others. For example, if your colleague has taken an exam at the end of their 4th year, and you think you're left behind, you're not. Basically, it's your mind telling you that you're left behind. You're not left behind. So do not compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to yourself, basically. That is going to help you. Comparing yourself to others and then arranging your thoughts and your plans, from that perspective, it's only going to hurt you. There is that. And then if you're not able to take your USMLE exams and while you're enrolled as a student, it's not a requirement. You can take it after your graduation. If you're not a person who can accommodate multiple exams at the same time, fine, that's totally fine. People have most of the people that are sitting in residences right now from QMC, they've done it after their graduation. So do not worry about it. If you cannot get it done within your med school years, at least step one, that's fine. You can always do it during your house job, or start studying it during your house job and do it after your house job. That takes me to the next point, that should we do house job if you're hell-bent on getting into this USMLE pathway? Previously, I used to say that it is advised against doing the house job. I've changed my mind over the past couple of years based on how ECFMG has changed their minds into introducing the pathway applications. So now I say that after all of the changes within the USMLE world, I say that it's safer to get your house job done if you're only 90% sure that you have to take up this pathway. If you're 99.999% sure that you have to take USMLE pathway, there's no alternate pathway for you, you can still try and skip it. But again, now our recommendation is that you do your house job. Even with that, you can still get away without doing your house job. That is still a possibility. But just doing a house job would open your horizons to different other possibilities. At the same time, save you from unnecessary stress later on. If you, God forbid, end up going unmatched for 1 year or 2 years, you'd have a fallback plan at that time. And then we can talk about if you have any questions about this. But you can get away without doing house job, but prioritize doing house job if you can, and it makes your or introduce your USCE clinical experiences that you have to do in your in within the US, and your step 3 within your house job kind of time frame. And then step 2 is basically the end of your final year, even after your final professional exams. That's fine. If you have started in 4th year and taken your step 1 exam by the end of 4th year, the beginning of final year, after the final professional exam, you can take your step 2 CPA. Some people have taken it before final professional examination. That's fine too. It would help you in your final professional examination too. You would not have to study for your final professional. This would prepare you enough for your final professionals. You might have to just take some specific exam taking strategies for the UHS examination, but otherwise taking USMLE would help you take your 4th professional and also your final professional examination. So that's the ideal time. We talked about, and again, so this is a framework. Do not feel that you have to fix yourself within this framework. Everybody is different. Every time frame is different. I've just given you a general picture of what an ideal timeline, according to my perspective, is at this given moment for all of you. So this is the USMLE, and we've talked, I think, overarchingly on a lot of things within this, that the questions that you might have for this.
Thank you, Dr. Mohsin. That was a very elaborate, comprehensive, practical knowledge that is very hard to find, especially that cannot be understood without any personal experience. So this is the importance of these webinars, that we can have some information about practical life of USMLE. So I am sure it was also a lot to chew in for everyone, and I'm sure everyone has taken it in with stride. But we will have a discussion segment where you can ask your questions and you can ask anything about these if you are having still some confusion. One thing I would like to ask Dr. Mohsin, a question came that if someone doesn't have any mentorship in their college, so how can they proceed? So if you like to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So first of all, just joking. Which college is this? Just joking. But yeah. So I would, I would say that we are a community here in US. If you do not have an established alumni, we were at that point a decade back, or maybe a decade and a half back, or maybe in your minds a couple of years back, we were at that place. But with all the help and support that we have gotten over years from our community, and with new blood coming in, we are at a point that we can comfortably say that we have a lot of guidance. And it might not be true if you're from a different medical school, but you can still reach out to anybody who is from Pakistan, who identify themselves as as a Pakistani. You can actually reach out to them, and people are helpful. You would find helpful people across all the alumni who would be ready to guide you. Now, bear in mind that people here are busy, as people in Pakistan are busy too. But here you start your day at 6 or 7, and you work up until 5 p.m. and you come back home at about 6. So imagine doing that for 6 or 5 straight days, and then volunteering for other things. It is hard, so that's the reason not everybody does this. But you would still find people who would be willing to help you throughout this journey. And feel free to join the Guardian USMLE forum. It's on Facebook. If you do not have any alumni, we initially started this as a closed group for only Guardians, but it is open to all the smaller alumni, and also, well-established alumni too. We have members from representing all the medical colleges. So if you are willing to do that, search USMLE, Kadin USMLE forum. You would find a lot of helpful guidance in there. And then your question about how to find mentors, you just search whatever your question is, and you would find articles written by me probably over the years. And I would particularly refer you to two of those write-ups that I wrote. One is for networking, how to network, and then the other one is how to find mentors. So if you search that within that group, you would find detailed answers. But short and sweet answer is reach out to people professionally, and request for help. And out of maybe a dozen of people, maybe you'd find one person who's willing to help you out.
And to everyone, I would like to say those who are looking for mentor, they have already found one in Dr. Mohsin Furqan here on Netflix. So you can ask anything. Okay, we have some questions coming in.
Assalamu alaikum. Mohsin bhai, this is Dr. Zain Khan, your immediate junior, if you remember. So basically, I've been living here in the UK for the last 2.5 years. And for the last 9 months, I've been working as clinical research fellow. I took a different route, basically after PLAB. I joined as clinical research fellow rather than a usually hospital doctor. So my question is basically what kind of opportunities I can avail, or are there any opportunities in the US as after this research fellow post, and how can I boost my CV to grab those opportunities? I haven't done any USMLE, anything. I haven't done any training here as well. So, but it's a long way here. I think 10 years from now onward, if I start to get into training and start here, anyways, in the UK.
Absolutely. Then thank you so much for the question. And yes, I do remember you. How can I forget you? So to answer your question, so there are a couple of routes that you can take actually. First, you have to decide if you want to make a career within research. If the answer is yes, then I would recommend you to take a master's. And we can, shoot me a message, and then we'll talk about those master opportunities within, Ivy League universities. I would encourage you to apply to Ivy League universities, get a master's in clinical science, if you really want to pursue clinical research as a career. And then an alternate pathway is basically MPH, Master in Public Health. Do not get discouraged by the fee structure. You would be able to finance yourself once you're here by means of apprenticeship, and by means of postdoctoral fellowships, and by means of teaching assistant jobs within your university. So these are two opportunities, the degree routes. Then there is a non-degree route, which is basically similar to what you're doing in UK, postdoctoral research fellow. You have an experience in a different healthcare setting. If you have a couple of good publications, good citations. By couple, I mean 4 or 5 would be enough for you, because you have your dedicated research experience under your belt. I would say that you can start applying for the research fellowships directly. That's a non-degree path. You would be a research fellow for X number of years, but then you have to find a way out, because you cannot be a research fellow for life. Well, you can be, but it is an interim position. You can be a senior research fellow. And then after that, some universities, it is going to be a particularly hard pathway to take if you want to end up as a faculty, pure research faculty, after doing X number of postdoctoral research fellowships. But I've seen people doing that. It's extremely rare, unheard of, but still doable. If you ask me if I encourage people to take that path, probably no, because at the end of it, the prime reason is to get established, support yourself and your family. I would say that this pathway, you would be able to support your family, but it's gonna you can make a better living elsewhere if you're solely relying on research fellowship to make a career out of it. But then again, you can branch out and go into academia and settle nicely, after a couple of years of research fellowship. So there are those pathways too. So there's a lot that you can do if you want to stay within research for the rest of your career. But what I try to focus is basically get research on the main highway alongside your clinical work. Basically, that is how you're gonna get the maximum output out of research. If you're doing solely research, you're basically just an academician or a research faculty. You would still be able to do great, but I would say it's better to couple it up with your clinical work. But in all honesty, sometimes it's not possible. So that's where I would recommend to couple it up with a degree. A degree which you see a value in after 10 years basically. So it could be a master's in clinical science, it could be primarily an MPH, master in public health. I would grade this at the top, the MPH degree, and then masters in clinical science as a second best basically. So these are your two options: degree pathway, non-degree pathway. Non-degree pathway is basically an interim pathway, I would say, to bridge yourself up to a clinical training. It would actually catapult you to a higher level. For example, once you've done X number of research years and you've been extremely productive in terms of your research output, and you enter in a residency, and then you really want a faculty position, an academic faculty position, you will be prioritized as compared to other applicants. And your rate of promotions basically from assistant professorship to associate professorship would be accelerated. So you would make up for quote unquote the lost years basically when your other colleagues are going to be progressing through those academic ranks gradually. So if you do that plus minus of your number of years spent in research, it neutralizes itself. So those years are basically not wasted for you. You get the output once you're in academics.
Thank you. Basically, the thing is, I came to UK and I did Master of Public Health already. And during that Master of Public Health, I cleared my PLAB exams, and then I joined as a research fellow. So I don't know if the degree from the UK helps you get somewhere in the US, like MPH I have already done, and then I have now research fellow like experience. I don't have much publications, like 2 to 3, but most of them were before I came here as a like Master of Public Health student. So just one editorial right now I did with my principal investigator, which has been published already. That's a review article, I would say, rather than a, I don't know if that counts as a publication.
So here in US, they look at research output more, and then obviously they would look at your MPH and your title of research fellow. But I would encourage you to publish a little bit more original research where you'd have you have taken your PLABs also. Publish clinical original research that would take you long ways basically.
Okay, thank you so much.
Dr. Zain. Thank you, Dr. Zain, for the question, and thank you, Dr. Mohsin, for an elaborate answer. So basically that was a very nice webinar. So अब जो हमारे members हैं जिनको बेसिक लेवल के मुतालिक कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछना चाहते हैं, Like the purpose is क्योंकि this USMLE it's like a ocean, तो एक वेबिनार में इसको सुनाना बहुत मुश्किल है। तो मैं चाहता हूँ कि बेसिक्स एटलीस्ट थोड़ी सी आपको क्लियर हो जाए, फिर हम इसको elaborate करते हुए मजीद सेशन जो है इंशाल्लाह ताला करेंगे कंक्लूड। तो बेसिक्स के बारे से एक दो क्वेश्चन हैं डॉक्टर मोहसिन, इफ यू लाइक टू एलैबोरेट, और बाकी आप सभी कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहते हैं, नाउ इज द टाइम फॉर Q&A रिगार्डिंग द बेसिक्स ऑफ USMLE। एक क्वेश्चन है कि कैन वी टेक स्टेप 2 बिफोर स्टेप 1, एंड द अदर वन इज electives, कि if someone is doing electives at a teaching hospital, so how can it help in for example they are taking their electives in third year, so how will it help them in future prospects? So after these two questions, बाकी सब भी अपने बेसिक से रिलेटेड जो पूछना चाहते हैं काइंडली आस्क।
All right, so it is advisable to take step 1 and then take step 2. I'm not sure about the pathways right now because they keep on changing every year. And I think last year I was reading through these pathways, and I guess you still can take step 2 prior to step 1, but it is advisable to take step 1 and then take step 2 because it would help you in your preparation of step 2 if you take step 1. Vice versa probably would not be that much true. It may be true because you would have some experience of solving your USMLE style questions in step 2, and then step 1 it would be of that help. But I think if you take it in a pattern of step 1 and step 2, that is more helpful. Then doing electives at AKU or Shaukat Khanum at any teaching hospital, if third year helps, it does to an extent. It does help if able to do that. It would help you make some connections, and especially at AKU, they have a diverse community and a diverse alumni within the US. So it would help you make those connections within that community, and it would help you a little bit. But if your question is that is that taken in lieu of your US clinical experience, the answer is no.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर मोहसिन। सो बेसिकली आप में से अगर कोई माइक ऑन करके भी कुछ पूछना चाहता है जस्ट लाइक डॉक्टर जैन डिड, तो आप पूछ सकते हैं। ओके, सो वन थिंग आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क, जैसे कि हमने टॉक की अबाउट द प्रोस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट इन USMLE, so what are the prospects after getting a match, like the proportionality comeback that you get after getting a match or residency in USA, so how rewarding is it?
It is extremely rewarding, I would say. You get to work within the clinical sort of environment. It is different from how you practice medicine in Pakistan. The training is robust. Most of the training programs, are structured. You would find some structured training, and I would say that in terms of your return on investment, you get it back in a year.
Oh, that's assuring to hear for every student, I am sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohsin, for your so much practical knowledge. So if anyone else wants to ask any question regarding USMLE or research, we will have a webinar specific for research-oriented match. But this was just to get an idea of the prospect of the USMLE and to get an inside experience that a learned fellow is having in USA, just like Dr. Mohsin Furqan. So इसमें डॉक्टर फवाद, I would like to ask you, अगर आप भी इसमें कुछ ऐड करना चाहते हैं, like, or if any question that you think many students have, so do share that.
I think Dr. Furqan has already elaborated beautifully, और I think काफी clarification already हो चुके होंगे। इस टाइम मेरे पास तो कोई question नहीं है, but अगर participants के पास है, they can ask.
Indeed, thank you. There's a question, does research in Pakistan help getting match in the US? The answer is yes. Research anywhere helps. as long as you're producing quality papers and quality data, research has no boundaries, basically. So if you're publishing in good journals sitting in Pakistan, that is equally important if you're sitting in US and publishing. And then there was a question, how much does it cost for research in US? I would say $0. But again, okay, I take it back. It's not $0. It is case specific. For example, if you're doing volunteer research, then you have to cover your own cost of living, which would be variable from state to state. But if you're being paid a stipend from the institution where you're doing your research, then you'd not be able to save a lot of money, but you'd be able to sponsor your USMLE journey, probably a little bit, offset the cost that you would have to pay out of pocket for your match application. So, and then support yourself living in US. So it is variable. It depends on your skills. If you are a published researcher and you're able to find basically a job, a research fellowship job, then you do not have to pay anything. Quite the contrary, the hospital or the institution is going to pay you a stipend. But if you are trying to learn the pathway and learn the basics of research and at the same time trying to volunteer, then you'd have to cover your cost of living in the US. Alrighty, which category journal is preferred for research publication for it to be helpful? It depends on your specialty of choice. But the shorter answer is that any kind of publication would help you if it is related to your field of publication. Just avoid the predatory journal, and I would not dive deeper into what a predatory journal is. I think that's for another talk. But sure. Aim for good journals within your field of specialty, or at least the topic should be matching your field of interest. Which, for example, if you're publishing outcomes of surgical research or surgical, basically outcomes of, let's say, cholecystectomies, then and you're applying to medicine, it may be helpful, but it would be more helpful in if you're applying for a surgical specialty match. Let's see.
So another question is, so about electives. People want to be guided about electives. What is your view on that, Dr. Mohsin?
Yeah, prior to that, I think I've seen one question. I've heard this from a lot of my seniors, that don't waste time on research just by one. Sure. A lot of people sell second. Yeah, so steer clear from selling and buying research. That doesn't take you anywhere, basically. You would not learn the process. It would be on your CV, and people would know. They would ask you one question, and they would know that you haven't contributed to that research. It looks bad. It is unprofessional. So for all of those reasons, steer clear from that. Do not do this. Do original research. Okay, do research that's that you can that you have contributed to, basically. And try and do some original research where there's clinical data involved. But start from the basics. You can start from and I would say you should start from case reports. Write case report. Find an interesting case report. Reach out to your immediate seniors or your PGRs, or within BVH or QMC, who can help you find some great case reports and try and write those up. Then write commentaries, learn some skills of meta-analysis. You can do that. You do not have to, collect a lot of hospital data for that. And once you're, ready, you can do some original hospital level data research too. So that's the path that I would encourage you to take if you're in Pakistan. Steer clear from any kind of, paying or plagiarism or that kind of stuff for research. And then I'm sorry, Adnan, you had a question.
Yeah, that was good to know. Someone was asking about electives as well.
Right. So many US hospitals or universities would want USMLE Step 1 clear before they would be willing to offer electives to international medical graduates. So the base requirement for almost all the universities and hospitals is USMLE Step 1. Some of the hospitals would have an additional sort of requirement of an English language test, mostly TOEFL or IELTS. And if you have taken a OET, they might waive that offer, or waive that requirement. So you'd have to reach out to that university and hospital. But every university hospital has an elective opportunity. Not all the hospitals or universities offering clinical electives would be open to IMGs. So you'd have to find out which university is open to IMGs, but I'm sharing this with experience that you'd have to have at least a USMLE Step 1 clear in order to be eligible to apply. And it is preferable to do electives
Thank you.
as compared to observerships.
That's a great observation. Thank you, Dr. Mohsin. So in the end, I would like to ask, so thank you so much, Dr. Mohsin, for your time that you have given us. So if there are some ending remarks by anyone that he wants to ask, we shall add those in the next webinar, in the next session, which hopefully we will arrange with the help of Dr. Mohsin, Dr. Fuad, and other esteemed colleagues. And with taken in mind that people do want to ask some questions. So in the end, just one question: what is the minimum level of research that you have seen getting matched in USA, and what is the maximum research that you have heard about someone doing?
Yeah,
Just
so I
sort of
would
an question.
I can take this, and then probably Fawad wants to add up.
Sure.
I think you can get matched with a couple of publications. 3 to 4 is the sweet spot for internal medicine, for example, but it is specialty based. For surgical specialties, you might have to get a little bit more than 3 to 4, maybe 5 to 6. But anything beyond 5 to 6, Fawad mentioned Malki Asad's comments. We have to take that data with a pinch of salt. I'm not a strong proponent of publications for nothing. For the sake of publications, basically. I do not think that that helps a ton, like 90 publications or 70 publications on average. There is a threshold after which the program directors think that X publications would not help. That threshold is different from specialty to specialty. For example, if it's around 5-ish for internal medicine, and it's around 10 or 7 or 9 for plastic surgery, for example. For orthopedics, it might be 5, 7 or 9 too. But you do not need a tremendous number of publications in order to get matched. It is a complete CV that they look into. You have to have a handsome score. You have to have good hobbies. You have to have your US clinical experience. And with that, you would have a couple of publications, but do not pay for those publications. It would backfire.
Great. That was a great answer.
And when I say do not pay for publications, some journals do ask for payments. I do not mean that. I mean, when people just pay other people to write a paper up and then they just add their name up. Do not do that, please. But there are journals which are open access journals. When you submit to those journals, they would have their own fee. It's okay to pay that fee if it's not a predatory journal.
Sure. So that was, I am hopeful that everyone enjoyed this webinar, and it was a very resourceful and informative webinar. So with that, I would like to ask Dr. Fuad and Dr. Mohsin if there are some ending remarks that you want to add. Then we shall conclude this session, and we shall hope to have some of your more time in the future as well for the discussions that can lead us to the more practical and more advanced type of knowledge. So, Dr. Mohsin and Dr. Fahad, if there are some ending remarks that you would like to add, then we can conclude this our session.
Go ahead, Mohsin bhai, please. Go ahead.
All right. So from my side, I think the ending remarks would be that if you are on the edge of deciding between USMLE and PLAB, I hope that I have provided you enough evidence and personal experience, shared my personal experience with you to convince you to pursue the USMLE pathway. With that in mind, please think about other prospects also, let's say for example PLABs, and take a decision based on your circumstances. I would let you know, however, that our community, our Camcana community, is there to help you if you end up taking up the USMLE pathway. We have dedicated programs, one-on-one mentorship, and then we try and up our game in terms of general mentorship to our colleagues who are in the process of mass application. We have actually branched out and reached out to students who are preparing for step 1 and step 2, and we have step 1 and step 2 interest groups under Camcana mentorship team. So try and join those if you're really interested, and if you're really preparing for your step examinations. But we would be there from the get-go throughout your journey of USMLE, and we are happy that we are in this position to talk to you and help you understand different options for your career. That's for USMLE. For research, just some ending remarks that do it for your own sake. Just don't do it for the sake of matching. Let's say for USMLE or your FCPS scores and stuff. Do it because you have to do it one way or the other. It is inevitable, but try to find some joy in it. If you find joy in it, and you drive pleasure by publications, that's something that would keep you going in your career, and it would help you excel within your field too. So with that, I thank everybody, and I thank Adnan and Fawad for arranging such an informative session. It was a pleasure talking to all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohsin, for giving us your time and your knowledge. It was a really nice honor for us to have you here. And we hope to see and get in touch more and more about these type of webinars with the more and more different type of topics and interesting, engaging discussions. So thank you everyone for being here. Inshallah, I will share about Camcana and in our group, in our Netflix group, and I will share any relative detail that you have, and we'll also coordinate your questions for the next sessions with Dr. Mohsin. So with that, thank you so much for everyone, and we take farewell to you now. So see you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.